predicting, which is normally the question at the end of the interview where people hate answering it. But it's the whole interview. Tell us what you think is going to be happening, what will be happening next. And I suppose, do we stand a chance of any of this helping us out with all the crises coming down the pipe?
Well, the first thing to say is that we've had 6 or 7 weeks of this leadership election that I think has gone on for far too long. I think everybody's glad that it has now come to an end.
Yeah,
but I think nothing is certain, even though all the pundits and all the predictions and all the column inches are filled with the fact that it's going to be Liz Truss. And I'm not a betting man, but if you were going to bet, it probably would be a safe one. But the polls have been wrong before. I go back all the way back to 2015, where it could have been another coalition government. In 2016, we were going to remain in the European Union. In 2017, Theresa was going to get a thumping majority, and in 2019, it could have been touch or go whether it was going to be Jeremy Corbyn as the next Prime Minister. So nothing is for certain. It could still be Rishi. I'm sure that's what he'll be going home tonight and still and hoping and maybe modelling a cabinet if it were going to come to pass. But
he'll be playing that clip of you saying that to himself on loop.
Well, I think anything can happen, but it does look like it's going to be Liz tomorrow. There'll be an announcement at 12:30. Tomorrow afternoon by Sir Graham Brady, the chair of the 1922 committee. He'll come out and tell everybody what we've been all longing to hear for far too long. And that will set the train in motion. The Prime Minister Boris Johnson will then, on the Tuesday, have to go to Balmoral. He'll have to see the Queen to formally hand in his resignation. And once that's complete, the new Prime Minister will be flown up to Balmoral as well to kiss the hands of the Queen. That's the official ceremony. And they will become the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
Now, when that happens, will there be a price to pay for such a relatively painful battle? I mean, it's been a battle that almost felt like we didn't need to witness it. I'm sure they could have just emailed the people who get a vote on this and we all could have been spared it. But there's been a certain level of chunks taken out of each other, and they all need to now be friends going forwards.
Well, all families row and have their differences, and we are one big, happy Conservative family. I'm sure we'll all come back together at the end of it and get behind whoever wins, because that's what the party has to do. I can't remember a time where, apart from Theresa, potentially, where a new incumbent has got such a difficult entry and very little time. It will be 2 years to go until the next general election, so whoever wins is going to have to not only unite the party that has had its divisions, that's had its different ways of setting out how they're going to deal with the cost of living crisis, how they're going to tackle the issues with energy prices that are increasing, dealing with inflation, all of these other issues that will come up. So difficult decisions are going to have to be taken. The individual will have to bring the party together and bring the country with them in order to go into that next election, knowing that we've tackled some of these big issues and go and win another fifth historic general election for the Conservative Party.
Another one of the divisions that's happened is about the way in which the last guy was dumped. Because that still seems to be lingering. Is Rishi the one who's stabbed in the back? Will there be prices to pay for that? I mean, Boris won't be in a position to actually make people pay for it, but will Liz Truss be punishing those who are seen to be the people who unseated Boris?
Well, it's incredibly tempting, isn't it? When you become if you become the next Prime Minister, or if you're in a position of power, and you after a gruelling 6 or 7 weeks of going through this leadership election, it's very tempting then to just appoint your friends and your supporters and your early backers. I think, given the time between now and the next election and the absolute need to bring the party together, you're going to have to reach out to everybody. People that voted for Rishi, people that would have backed Tom Tugendhat right at the very start. Because it's a broad church, the Conservative Party, and in order to, as I say, bring the whole party together, you're going to have to reach out to everybody.
So, presuming that happens, presuming that, we can heal the wounds, the intro, as you say, is ridiculously painful. Will the nation in some way resent how long we've been dilly-dallying with this when we should have been fixing the problems? Because at some point we're going to be paying some bills and not being able to afford things. Maybe it could have been sorted out a bit quicker if we would have started to get some policies brought in rather than saving them so you can get a nice bounce. So look, I'm the new Prime Minister and here's the saving rule that we could have introduced this before, but no, we made it just so that they look better in the polls and we pay more for it. That's costly, isn't it?
Well, look, I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing in politics all the time. And, it could be argued that the two candidates that were running to be the next leader of the party and who will ever go on to be the Prime Minister could have got together with the current Prime Minister, could have had a bigger meeting of officials, of experts to map out and actually, for the candidates for themselves to actually see the depth of the challenge that we face. Because I know Liz has said previously that she would want to wait until she gets into number 10 to then see the depth of the challenge. It might have been an idea had they come together and agreed a plan earlier on to allow other debates to flourish. So what are the candidates going to do on crime, on education, on the NHS, on free speech? We haven't heard enough about that because the whole contest has been dominated by the cost of living and energy prices. And so that could have been something that could have taken place. It didn't. So we are where we are. And whoever becomes the Prime Minister tomorrow, or announced tomorrow, and takes their office on Tuesday, we will then just have to wait and see what happens after that.
So it might be Liz Truss. We know this much, right? I don't think it's too unkind to say, let's focus maybe on the Liz Truss angle a little bit. If I'm wrong, I'll apologise to Rishi afterwards. What do you think she will do? What do you think she can do? What are the next steps?
The very first thing is to appoint a cabinet. She will have a plethora of supporters, as I say, people that probably backed her. She should reach out to other people that didn't. But she has announced previously that she's going to be a tax-cutting Conservative. So you can assume that things like VAT on bills is going to be reduced. Energy levies on the energy sector reduced. There may be additional support, which was originally ruled out, if you remember, at the start of the contest. She said no handouts. But I think when you explore the depth of the challenge, you need to ensure that actually that there is a package of support available to those that are most in need. So where tax cuts might not help, those on the lowest income, and pensioners that obviously don't have an income to be taxed, those people will be in a very, very vulnerable position over winter, and they will need additional financial support. So we can see a combination probably of tax cuts and better financial support to those in need.
Do you think anyone will be holding her to account for the small changes, not huge changes? Well, I know newspapers might use the phrase U-turn, but I suppose it's not huge. But in the fact that you gain points by saying no handouts, what a strong, powerful sentence to say that will gain you some support. And then you get and you do some handouts. Will she be held to account for that? Or actually is she just played an absolute blinder, playing the room that she needs to play?
Well, there was the Daily Mail editorial today had a brilliant piece, I think, which sort of said that you can campaign in theory, but you have to govern in reality. And so, yes, it is a small membership in comparison to the wider population of those who've had a vote in this contest, and it is very appealing hearing about tax cuts, and it's very appealing about making sure that you have more money in your pockets, that you work hard, if you play by the rules, and if you do the right thing, you keep more money that you earn. That is a Conservative principle. That's why I'm a Conservative. Yes, that is a great theory, but if you get into number 10 and you get to explore the books that are on in the Treasury desks, and you see the scale of the challenge that faces us, it may be that you then need to go to the public and say, look, this is what I believe in. I ultimately feel this, and that is why I've said it during the leadership election. But the country, as a response to help the whole of the United Kingdom, we may need to do things a little bit differently to get through the challenges that face us immediately, and then come back and make those tax cuts and those pledges that she did at the very start of the campaign.
And how long do you think it will be until there's the first scandal?
What day is it now?
Surely it won't be as fast and furious as we've had recently.
I hope not. I mean, there are we've got a number of issues to sort out. Whether that's the Standards and Privileges Committee with Boris and what he said in Parliament, whether he misled Parliament or not, that will come and go. There'll be other issues in other constituencies, I'm sure. There always are, but they're in every party, so it's not exclusive. I think what people will really want us to focus on are just the issues of the day. So the cost of living, the energy crisis, and things that are going to just come up naturally, It may be the case that you see an increase in public disorder. We've still got the war in Ukraine. That we're still sort of supporting out there. So there are a number of issues that we just need to get on with, and I think that's what the public will really want us to focus on.
And we know that it won't be wallpaper, it's going to be a brave new world. Charlie, thank you very much. That's Charlie Rowley for me.